Hello, folks. I'm back. Again, sorry if you were waiting, but I'm guessing that people maybe like yourselves are getting tired of all the online stuff, maybe. Anyway, I'm hoping to make this stream a bit more kind of useful for you. So bear with me and let me go back to my screen. And I'm so sorry. I mean, I thought I would start on my Discord. I was telling folks, okay, I'll start a bit earlier, but as such too, right? It's always something to do, and I'm actually also quite busy. I mean, as an advocate, believe it or not, you know, when we have to travel too, then I have to be organizing all of my travel. And of course now, you know, with COVID situation, I think those of you in Europe, or maybe from Europe, if you're coming to the US, there are lots of requirements, even though number of cases have gone down, but maybe you still need, I don't know, vaccine or testing and all of these things. Likewise, for me to go from the US over to Europe, other places too, I'm going to need to also get the, you know, certain paperwork, testing, all of these things. So, and there I am, right? Kind of just real busy trying to understand each country, what are their requirements, and then I have to make reservation. And then sometimes too, if you make reservation, it doesn't always go through all these other things, right? And right now, guess what? I mean, I'm supposed to be going to Poland, and then there have been air traffic controllers strike. As a result, it may affect the flights going, into Poland, out of two. So it's been a bit of a challenging times, and then I find myself as soon as I sit down to do some work, then I realize I have to answer some emails, and then there are recordings to be done for conferences, or there are things that they need to change the time, and doing all sorts of stuff, and it is a bit kind of crazy. So please bear with me. And again, I have my Discord channel, right? Let me kind of make sure on my Discord that I want to kind of over here, right? So my Discord channel, if you want to join. Now, somebody tried to actually join me last week, and then not just last week, I think it was earlier this week. Apparently, he said the link has expired, but I actually checked, and then on my Discord, it is showing that it is still valid. It doesn't expire. It's one of those that I've set up that will be, no expiration, is infinity. So yeah, if you have any suggestions, right, for me, please let me know. Or if anybody watching trying to join, if you have any issue, please do let me know, because then otherwise I wouldn't know, because like that, on the configuration is showing that it hasn't expired. It won't expire, but then somebody says they couldn't get to it. So I'm not sure, but let me try, because what I did was I tried to regenerate a new link, and guess what? The link comes back the same. So I'm not exactly sure what is going on. So then it appears that I'm also seeing folks joining too. So so maybe it only happens for certain accounts, maybe. Now, I did try to read up on the instructions and help pages. They were just saying that if your account is having some issue, they may prevent you from joining or doing any other things with your account. So I'm not sure. Maybe the person who's trying to join has some issue with the account, is what I'm guessing. But I can't be too sure. So if you kind of trying to connect with me there in the Discord, kind of below here, if you have trouble, please let me know. You can actually also find me, right? If you're on Twitch, if you're on my YouTube, they're also messaging. If you want to message me here, message me over there, anywhere. So follow me or something, and find me on Twitter or something. Just message me about it. But otherwise too, I hope you can connect me, using the Discord link right here. So all right then. So that's that. And so I hope you all are doing well. As such, we are still in spring, right, in the Northern Hemisphere. And here too, where I am, right, in Chicago, it seems like last weekend it was so hot. It was like 80 degrees, which is like 20, I think not quite 30 Celsius, but almost, right? So pretty warm. So I don't know what is going on with the weather. It seems like that now on Monday, I have my Chicago Java Users Group, first time ever in 2022, we have our in-person meetup, kind of partly because we're also live streaming too. Live streaming is another challenge, because we were being hosted at our sponsor's office. That was very nice, by the way, to get back to an office, and they were so welcoming. By the way, if you folks are in Chicago, they are called Focused Labs. So looks like a really neat place. They have a new facility, really clean and open and everything. But the lighting was a little bit dark. So then the live streaming portion came out with the, everything is a little kind of like not very bright. Not only that, I think the audio too didn't seem to capture the sound too good, even though we had microphones. So I'm not sure, even with that, I'm not sure what's going on. And of course, bear with us. We are all volunteers to running this. Not like we're having full-time jobs dealing with that. It's more like we have our full-time jobs and we take time out to try to, participate or share things with the community. So please always, support your community. If something doesn't go right, maybe you can step in to help too. And, as much as we like to hear feedback, we like constructive feedback versus like things don't work, this kind of negative thing. I mean, we do the best we can, and I have to tell you, in order for me to get this space, it actually took me quite a lot of time, outside of work hours. And so that's why too, I also have a followers recently, right? He's based in Vietnam. He was like, why are you still up, at 3 a.m? I'm like, okay, I just have tons of things to do. And believe me, I try to get the sponsor to sponsor that venue. I'd say from the beginning to the end, it would take me like 2 days, full days if I have to count like full-time job, maybe even more than that because it's very disruptive, right? Initially they were like spring team, they're trying to come, they are in Chicago. In fact, even today they are running a spring one tour. So I think if you go to their website, right, okay, so I don't mind advertising for them because they will be in other cities as well. So spring one tour, let me see. So if you guys are spring, if you're Java, right, spring one tour, then all the cities, let me share it in over here too. So because they are great friends, right? If you guys are following Spring, there's Josh Long, who's the really like well-known Spring developer advocate, and then that night we had Deshaun Carter. He's wonderful too. He's a really funny guy too. And then other, members of their team too. Cora also was on site for a little bit and visited us. She came from New York City, and Deshaun is from Missouri, like Kansas. Is it Kansas? I'm trying to think. No, St. Louis area. So they all come from everywhere, but it was really great. So, okay, my point is that, Spring Team is really cool and they're having this Spring One tour. I think it may be ending now in Chicago, but they are also in other cities too. So let me kind of advertise for you because they're a really nice team. We're good friends, right? Spring One tour, they're kind of like 6 different cities. 6 different U.S. cities. I think it's only U.S. Maybe like North America. Let's say North America cities. So yeah. So okay. I didn't actually copy that. Okay. Let me here we go. All right. So that's the link, right? So let me show on stream. So this is their Spring One tour. So like I said, I don't mind advertising for them. We try to help, the whole ecosystem to thrive, right? The Java ecosystem. Somebody actually also talked with me about Java, right? So, looking at the way things are, I mean, we just do not see it going away. It is true, may not be the fanciest programming languages, tooling libraries out there, but guess what? The ecosystem is huge. We've got tons of open source contributors in, organizations like Apache, like Eclipse Foundation, to name a few. These are the main ones for open source. They have so many projects, right? So many committers, and then everyday work too. If you look into your phone, and everything, I mean, there are open source licenses, for example, that are Apache. That could be like Eclipse, all these things. So as such, for Java, there's just so many things written in Java, so many production systems running in production are Java, and it can scale well. Right now, working with Kubernetes, containers, Kubernetes, everything in a modern cloud native, it is really poised, I think to go for a long way. And then now with Kubernetes, it's just a lot more features, capabilities that supports the Java runtime so well now. There's Red Hat. Red Hat has what? Okay, Red Hat has Quarkus, right? Of course, Quarkus is a library that helps you to develop. It helps in the compile stage to be really trim. It trims down all the unnecessary fat, so it can, you can have a small kind of executable running in your cloud native environment, and that's the key. And they're also experimenting now with a lot of the for example, like virtual machines like GraalVM, that's kind of helping that too. And that's what Deshaun's talk was on Bootable GraalVM, which is like Spring Boot working with GraalVM. How can you make your, essentially your runtime kernel small, efficient, and able to run real quick, start up quick. Now, the thing is that, of course, then in that case, when you go to build it, to compile it, it may take longer. Why? Because it needs to analyze a lot of things, and then knowing what to remove and what to keep, all these stuff, right? And also the fact that, these runtimes are going more native now. So then it kind of eliminates that extra layer of instructions too. So as you can see, right, what I'm trying to say is that Java still has a long way to go. There's just a lot of tons of support out there that you can find out, right? And it is true, I have to admit, it's not the easiest thing to put your hands into, but I think it's worth it. It's just to get to know, and if you're familiar with it, it actually comes quite natural too, in my opinion. But just like anything else, right? So yeah, so in other words, and nothing to kind of reject it. Is my point. Okay, so let me hide it now. So if you guys are interested, right, go visit the Spring One tour and see what cities it is visiting. Actually, it'll be Toronto, New York, Seattle, Atlanta, and Amsterdam. Okay, so I was wrong. Not just North America, but also like Europe, which is only Amsterdam at the moment. So let me see if I can. I cannot. Well, I suppose it doesn't let me remove that. But yeah. Okay, so let me kind of just saying that Spring One Tour. Like if somebody comes in later, right, Spring One Tour in 6 different cities between North America and Europe. Okay, so and this is like pretty nice too, to be able to do this, in person. It really makes a difference now. If you're kind of gone back to doing in person, you know how it is, how nice it is, right? Being able to talk with people, see people, and hug them and all that. I mean, yeah, it is true. We still run the risk, right? For example, in Deaf Nexus, right, in Atlanta 2 weeks ago, where I was, and I stream actually. I couldn't. Where did I stream? I'm trying to remember now. Did I stream from my room? Maybe I did it from my room. I can't even remember. How can it be? Oh no, I was streaming directly at Deaf Nexus. Yeah, see, I kind of forgot about it. There's too many things. It almost seems like a long time ago, but it's not that long. It's 2 weeks ago. And if you remember Bruno, the Brazil Java man, he was on, right? He and Ixchao. Ixchao is originally from Mexico, but she now lives in Switzerland. They both are Java champions too. Very, very kind of community driven, right? Very passionate people too, wanting to help the ecosystem and contributing a lot to it. So I was just so thrilled to run into them, and then being able to talk with them and everything, and did a show together, even though I think it was short, right? 30-40 minutes. But the reason was that Ixchao had to go somewhere, so then she couldn't talk for too long because she works for JFrog now. But anyway, so then we kind of had to like stop the stream. But of course too, the fun part was that on the stream, we kind of, I remember too, it was Bruno's idea. He said, let's kind of get together for a stream. I said, well, this is my streaming time, so why don't you guys get on my stream? And he said, no, let me also run things on my stream. So then we ended up doing streaming individual separately, but we do it at the same time, right? So if you go back to my archive of all of the recordings, like 2 weeks ago, that one in Deaf Nexus it was where we were. And interestingly, right, we were actually running our own laptops on that. So at first I was thinking, well, Bruno, how can we do it? We need a table, we need some chairs. And then we immediately saw some like a chair thing, on the conference hall, and just some chair, right? It's sort of like a couch, but like without the backing. It's just like lean against the wall. So he said, well, just let's sit there. It was long enough for 3 of us. Actually, we could fit another person to 4. Then I was saying that, well, we did not have any table. I said, we need a table. He said, no problem. Bruno is just this amazing guy. And then we were sitting next to the JFrog booth, right, at the conference. And then he was walking around the booth, and then he said, wait, we have some boxes. So he essentially took those, I should say, right, without asking. He said, well, those boxes are at the back of the booth. So he took those boxes, maybe 3 boxes full of T-shirts, and he kind of essentially lugged them over in front of that couch, and then he stacked them up. So after stacking them up, he said, there you go, Mary, no need to look for a desk or a table. And there we go. We sat down and we started chatting. And I thought that was fun too. I hope, if you were there, that you enjoy what we were talking about. And I actually forgot exactly what we talked about, but I think primarily too, it's all about the community. So I think community is just real important, right? In some ways too, I'm sure a lot of you, out there, if you're experienced developers, you're doing lots of good work. But if you don't advertise yourself, right? If you don't come out, then nobody will know you, right? So that's why too, it's important to get together in a community. If you participate in doing some presentations, then folks will start to know you. And people can benefit too from what you can share with them too, I think, so we like to encourage everybody from doing that type of a community sharing type of thing, if it isn't go against your practice, I suppose. Yeah. So we respect everybody. If you don't feel comfortable, that is okay too. So All right. So with that, then why don't we start, right? This is enough of me kind of talking for a while. So let me then move over a little bit and kind of make myself a little bit, smaller, so I don't kind of like block the view of this thing. So, and by the way, I have this Starfleet command T-shirt. So if you're a Star Trek fans, right, you know about Starfleet, right, the Enterprise. So anyway, these are like T-shirts that was given to all the speakers at DevNexus. That was very nice. They always, the organizers there, Pratik, always have a big, deep love for Star Trek, Star Wars, all of these kind of galaxy stories, right? I mean, I like those too, but I just, there's just too many things to know. But anyway, so they always have shirts that have themes, things, mostly actually the clothings have themes that are related to Star Trek. So if you're a fan, I think you're in luck for that. So, but anyway, they're still next year, they are still continuing to run DevNexus. And not only that, before I forget, right, before I switch over to doing things, if you guys are in Chicago, you are aware of JConf, right? JConf.dev Chicago. Now, the last 2 years, we did it online because of the COVID situation. So this year will be in September. We're planning on doing it in person. That, let's hope, pray that the COVID situation doesn't get any more worse and we can finally get together in Chicago. So if you can be in Chicago, you are all invited, right, to join. Unfortunately, too, we just would not be able to find enough people to help us with live streaming. So, but I'll find out. Maybe we can kind of get someone, maybe at least stream some small things, maybe like a keynote or a certain talk or a talk by Venkat, for example. Maybe we can stream one thing or two things. But for now, there's no plan of doing it hybrid, right? It's just going to be in person. And I think it's going to be very, very interesting. So let me kind of give you the link, right, to, okay, so jconf.dev Chicago. So, okay, so here we go. Right now, right, I believe that they still have, okay, here we go, jconf.dev. Okay, so the information there now is only over here, right? jconf.dev. So if you go there right now, it's about 2021, so last year's conference. So I think all the information are there. Now, in order, for you to know 2022, it's basically Pratik is still working on that. So as soon as he has that site updated, I may check with him too. We should be seeing things, and then also there will be call for proposals. So if you're interested to be a speaker there, right, you're welcome to submit your proposals. Now, also let me know too, if anybody of you in the audience, even if you're watching this, after hours, right? Again, okay, let me kind of unshare that one, but let me share again my Discord, right? Or am I talking about Discord? Wait, it's not showing. Hi, show. Where is it? Okay, this thing isn't quite working. Okay, what I'm trying to say is that you connect me on Discord, because I like to know, right, if some of you may be interested in being a speaker, and that type of stuff. So if that's the case, right, please let me know if you want to, kind of have someone to help you look over your proposals, or if you just want to do like a, rehearsal of your test, of your presentation, right? All of this stuff, you can do it on my stream here too, if you want, do a 5-minute talk, things like that, right? Or just share with you what you like to share with everybody. There's no, let's put it that way, there is no hold on, there's actually no kind of rules, and I don't block people if you want to come and join me. But I think today too, I think maybe it's even kind of late for everybody, so I don't see anybody in here, but that's all right. It's not a big deal. So anyway, what was I going to say? If you want to have me do something on how do you write proposals, right? Talk proposals and things like that. Maybe we can work on it too on this stream. But I would need to get some input from you, from at least some of you telling me, one of you at least, then I can do it. But otherwise too, I'm not sure if it's helpful, right? And here I'm supposed to be more about chatting and then doing something technical. So, but well, writing proposals is kind of technical too, except it is for presentations purpose. So that is still so. But okay, let me then now get into some coding, or even if it's not all coding. So let me kind of make myself small now, so you can still see me, right? Yep. Okay, so here we go. So last week, I remember that what we were working on, first of all, was I wanted to take a look right into Cassandra, right, if you were with me. So now, one way of good about doing Cassandra, no need to even install anything, is to use Astra DB. Astra DB is the managed Cassandra database platform on the cloud, provided to you for free. If you sign up for it, you can get $300 per year as a credit. So now, if you hold on for a second, I just got a new link that you can actually sign up for the whole year too. But otherwise too, you can also go to this screen, right? And I think I've already shared with you too. Let me kind of share with you again the Astra over here, right? Astra.datastacks.com. So this is the link where you can get to this page out here. I'm just sharing with you, right? Let me kind of make it a little bigger. Okay, slightly bigger, right? Okay, so at least it's big enough so you can kind of take a look. I'm not maximizing it just yet. So, okay, so maybe making slightly bigger. Okay, so yeah, so Astra DB, again, you can sign up if you haven't already done it. It doesn't ask you for credit card. I think I always like that if you go to like a site and then want to sign up for something, they always say, okay, give me your credit card. We're not going to charge you, but we need your credit card. So you like, okay, forget it. Most people are like, I don't want to give out my credit card number unnecessarily. So in Astra DB, guess what? We don't care. If you're just going to be using it for free, we give you the $25 per month, as a starter for free. And this thing, guess what? You think $25 US dollar is less, but actually for using our Astra managed database is very, very, sufficient. Like if you want to do like a small kind of test load, a workload of things, right? Not much data, $25 would be plenty for you to use for a month, doing some small kind of data sets or something. So yeah, so please consider signing up to, I would like to do. So with that, we can kind of get in and kind of continue on with the Cassandra. And in the meantime, oops, I was gonna kind of just look at some things which I forgot. Okay, let me see. Okay, not sure if Max will be joining. I know normally Max would be joining, but that's okay too. So for me, let me kind of get into my data stacks and oops. Okay, it says timed out because I let it run. Okay, use another account. I should be able to do that too. Data stacks. Oh, you know what? Did I remember my password? Let me see. I have to remember. Okay. Oh, I don't. Okay, if you guys just give me 1 minute because what happened is this browser is not my usual work profile, so it hasn't saved my password here. But let me kind of check because I always forget my password, but I have it recorded. So let me kind of get that going here. Oh, I didn't know I changed it. Oh yeah, that's right, because company have a new policy. So that's why I'm like, wait, I had that password, but it's actually they had a new requirement, so I had to update my password. And now after updating it, I forgot exactly what I updated to. And that's another thing. I sometimes don't like to store my password in places where it is still electronically connected. So that's the reason. So, okay. All right. And then now it's going to ask me to verify that I am me. And so okay. I'm going to make sure I got it. Okay. Okay, I'm not going to switch profile, but just for this browser window, I'm going to be connected to our Astra DB. So again, Astra DB is actually surprisingly, right? I know sometimes, as developers, we're kind of less interested in database stuff. It's so funny, right? Because, okay, let me kind of unshare now. If you need it, let me know. But like I said, right, I remember myself, right, as a first started off as a developer, many months ago, right? And I was kind of more junior, and I remember the developers are like, oh, they when they kind of hear about database, they sort of cringe, right? They're like, oh well, it's not very fancy stuff. But guess what? In reality, we all know that database is like a must, right? If not database too, some sort of storage, right? This is what it is about. Persistence, right? Storage is needed, right? So how can we say we don't need it, right? We do, right? I mean, it is very true. A lot of the work, I'd say, is a lot more kind of not as interesting, so to speak, but it is a necessary thing. So anyway, that's the point. Now, look at me over here. So I actually, when you create something, right? I think last week I was creating a. Let me go over here. Let me kind of look at, okay, so you can actually create different organization too. So if you want to do different, kind of testing, different kind of things, like say, for example, I have actually a company organization. This is for our advocacy. So I won't be using that for now. But I want to also tell you guys is that next Wednesday, I will be helping out with one of my colleagues here, Aaron Platts, and he's amazing, this guy. And he invited me to join his e-commerce workshop. So that actually will be using AstraDB. So yes, it's a lot of database stuff, but because of the order, the nature of an e-commerce, you need to do order processing, and he set that up. And for me, I'm just gladly so happy because I want to learn more about Cassandra, right? The NoSQL for big data, big data, right? Kind of purpose, right? Column data, Y column database. So it's a different types of data organization which makes it able to accommodate like huge amounts of data, as you may know. So anyway, Aaron is like one of the leading, right, figures, right, in the Cassandra world. The Cassandra, okay, it's actually being used by a lot of big companies too, as you may know, right? Like among the big ones, for example, well, I guess I won't mention their names, but I just don't know if it's appropriate. But anyway, so as you know, a lot of them are kind of like, big companies are using. We know that Cassandra does its job really well. So they still kind of like a very focused community, let's put it that way. But there are lots of companies using it. So Aaron is actually one of the leaders. He wrote two books, I think, or co-wrote some books and on Cassandra, and he's very knowledgeable. So from that perspective, I'm so happy because it is really great to have somebody who's like knowledge and very expert in some things that you can kind of ask questions about. So that's what it is. Okay, so let me just let me kind of go back. I lost my cursor. Okay, all right, here we go. Okay. And let me see. I guess there are nobody in here. That's okay, right? And that's also always okay too. Okay, so but let's take a look, right? Last week, I believe that I was using my datastacks.com, and then there's Twitch demo 1. Remember, I created first of all, right? When you need to create a database, it's as simple as coming in here, create the database. When you create it, right? If you recall, this asks you for your database name. And then also a key space name. Think of key space as just a namespace, right? It's demarcate all of your other databases within the same kind of organization. So a way of organizing administrative too, right? In some sense, as administrative, and the infrastructural organization of all of your cluster of databases. So okay, so that's all you need, and then you pick one of the cloud providers. So isn't it nice? You get $25 to upfront, without any need to give your credit card or anything. So that's that. And let me now also give you a special link so then you can visit that to get this $300 per year credit too, which is very useful. So if you can hold on for 1 minute, I just need to go fetch that. And because one of my marketing events persons, very nice, and she gave that to me. And let me kind of go over here. Yes, there we go. So this is the link, right? You can kind of get started for free. Okay, so you can see that now, right? Yeah, let me kind of like do this so then it's a bit kind of more like cover everything. Okay, so your next Cassandra project just got easier. So start today with a $300 per year credit is what it is. And I will give you this link. And this is called Hey Here Astra B2B, manage cloud, right? Manage Cassandra. Actually, let me say manage Cassandra in the cloud. Sign up. Oops. Okay, so as you can see in here too, I also list out on screen, right, this link. But if you go to the chat too, you can click on it and then get to it. So we like to encourage you to sign up for it too. And like I said, what's better than getting something for free, right? So this should be good. So yeah, so please come to here, and then you should be able to also do the create account and everything. So yeah, so if you want to do that, you're welcome to, right? So all of these other things too, we have also a lot of materials. Like over here, if you scroll down, right, why code with me, all of these. And we also have the open source community contributors in the community contributing to some of the contents here too. So if you're already doing Cassandra, you're more than welcome to let me know, and then we'll kind of connect you too if you haven't already connected with us, right? If you want to kind of participate in contributing to some of these open source training kind of materials or educational type of materials, we'll be very happy too. And if you want to sign up as some sort of an influencer, right, to help us too with defining the products, with as a community, because this is open source, Apache, right, Cassandra, you can always reach out to us to DataStax. So I'm here now, so also let me know. Now, that's the thing is that today what I wanted to talk about is sort of like resuming what we talked about in the previous weeks, or actually just last week, on this change data capture pattern. It is a design pattern, but it's catered, designed specifically for data kind of integration from that perspective, right? It's really for data as such, right? Change data capture. So you're capturing data that changes in flight, right? Essentially in motion kind of thing. So that's what we're going to be taking a look. Now, how does it have to do with Cassandra? Well, guess what? Cassandra is a NoSQL database. So by itself too, is just follow a lot of the database way of doing things. And by default too, a lot of things are not, not like non-blocking, put it that way. It's more synchronous type of way. But there's a need too, especially with huge data set, that we want to be able to have data being processed in real time. As they come in, we want to process it as they come in, right? Rather than waiting, blocking, and then wait for it to gather up, and then we process it in batch afterwards. We want it to be processed right away. So essentially, what change data capture is that is a mechanism in which we allow the data in your database to be kind of listened on. So if there are any changes in the data itself, there's that mechanism will notify, right? Some sort of notification mechanism. Now, the way how you do it is that's where Pulsar comes into play, right? So Apache Pulsar is an open source project. So let me kind of unshare now that you know where our Cassandra in the cloud kind of free tier. So I'll just hide it. And let me now then share with you Pulsar, because that's the thing I've been working on, right? So for me, I just got kind of excited because it's just a lot of exciting thing. I always, like I said, if you've been following me, I really like working with event-driven systems because it's just dealing with things that keeps changing and it's very dynamic, right? It's not just like, I mean, there's a necessary and also the need for data to be, systems of record, something more stable that can be processed as, kind of in batches, right? But there are also cases in which, there's a time element that's involved. Messages comes in, you need to process and you need to maintain how many messages and how many subscriptions, are you having dedicated subscriber client, or have you listening for the messages, or are you going to have like dedicated client, and or one-to-one type of situation, like PubSub is a one-to-one, publish, and then the messages will go to whoever subscribes to it? Or do you want to do point-to-point, which is more like a queuing type of mechanism? The receiver publisher and then receiver, they know each other, they send stuff that is dedicated. Or in Pulsar too, we have what we call like exclusive. This one is exclusive, sort of like one-to-one, and then you can have failover, but meaning that you are still one-to-one, but there's also a backup that's involved. So then if the primary goes down, primary client isn't there to receive, then the secondary client will take over that type. So there are two, right? I talk about exclusive, failover. There's also a shared subscription. So shared subscription is interesting because you can have a group of clients, right, listening on a topic that you're receiving messages, but in terms of the subscription itself, it's being shared. Now, it's a bit more abstract now as I'm talking more about messaging, right? So maybe let me kind of get into it. Maybe later. I always kind of get excited and I talk about it, and I realize it's already getting kind of veer off. So anyway, so here we go. So if you go into Astra, and then we'll get into the streaming part. Okay, so this is how you can create a database very easily. So I've already created it, so I won't do it again. But last week too, I've created this one called MG Twitch Demo 1. So it's on Google Cloud. The region is US Central 1, right, North America, and I got all of these things now. And then at the same time too, I also have created my key spaces. I remember actually the first one for some reason is not recognized, but it's really the second one. This one I created. So you always need the key space to go with your particular database because it really gives it the space, the administrative kind of as a unit, right, operating like that. So okay, so after that's created, then I can say, now let me get into the streaming, right? So essentially, like I said, Cassandra by default is processing things more synchronously, right? That's kind of the mode. But we want to be able to bring in streaming so then data can come in dynamically. We want to have mechanisms being able to get set up. So, okay, say, for example, let's create the streaming. What is it, right? So I created this MG Twitch tenant 1. If you remember too, all you need to do is just do create stream and give it the tenant name. So tenant, right? Think of it as like, this is like an apartment building, right? Within the building, you have many different units, or even a hotel, you have different rooms, right? So tenant name is sort of like, think of it like, okay, this is my cluster, right? The cloud. And then I want to create streaming, and it's divided kind of administratively, is kind of broken off into like a tenant. That's what kind of like keeps track of that. It's like, think of it like a hotel room or something. And then within it, right, you can do different things within the room. They can be bigger or smaller, all these kind of stuff. You're having different topics. And in this case too, because we're trying to leverage on the change data capture feature that's from Cassandra here, from Astra, I should say, the managed Cassandra, the Astra. So make sure that for now, you do need to make sure that your provider region of where your stream is, should match with the Cassandra database that it is being created into. So that's the only kind of a drawback. I shouldn't say drawback, a bit of a limitation at the current moment. So make sure, in this case, if I have US Central 1, I use US Central 1 for the region, for my, and then Google Cloud, for example, for my streaming tenant too. So, and that's about it. You can create that, but like I said, I already created it. So no, this one is my dashboard, sorry. And let me go back to streaming. Streaming is my MG Twitch tenant 1. So as you can see, right, this one is my Twitch tenant 1. And then I also have Google GCP and US Central 1. So these are the different ways how you can connect with my particular broker. Now, again, in this case too, Pulsar is interesting. The broker itself is stateless, right? Although I have to say, well, okay, it is stateless, but on the other hand too, it has capability of connecting to storage, right? So now in Pulsar, and of course, just like any messaging systems like Kafka, for example, it is actually a locking mechanism, right? Because you're dealing with a lot of messages and you need some ways of saving all of these messages as logs, right? So likewise, too, Pulsar has this capability. Now, instead of Pulsar managing its own data storage for these logs, messages and the logs and all these, it actually delegated to another library, which is called Apache Bookkeeper. Now, if you're familiar with it, then you probably know. But if you're not, Apache Bookkeeper is another project, so we can kind of take a look into it. Apache. Keep in mind too, sometimes I'm looking at this is less about the programming aspect of Pulsar. I'm just looking at more like a general uh, design, of Apache Pulsar. So that's what I'm looking at. So Bookkeeper, this one is this, and let me share with you, so that if you're interested too. So as the name implies, right? Bookkeeper is what its job is to do bookkeeping, right? So if you're familiar with accounting, it's sort of like that, right? The functionality accounting, what does accounting do? Yeah, say in our daily lives, right? And they are the ones accounting will keep all of our money going in, going out, and to interacting with different like institutions or other people or company, whatever, you're doing transaction. Bookkeeping is so needed, right? In everything, your banking transactions, your trading transactions, your purchasing, everything, right? Is about anything you do need some sort of bookkeeping. Even if you say, okay, I'm a private business, even non-profit, right? Say for example, I'm doing the Java users group, we are registered properly, non-profit. We also have to do bookkeeping. We have to file taxes too. But of course, it's much less, and also there's not too much of an obligation to pay. Actually, we don't even need to pay because we don't have any income. So that type of stuff, but we need to file it, right, to kind of prove it year after year. So anyway, back to this. So bookkeeper is what helps, with that part of things. Think of it's kind of financial, kind of, back office type of thing. So this is it. So now I'm not like a very familiar with it still, but the thing is too, you can kind of come into here and documentation, getting started, right, and getting an overview, bookkeeper. So essentially too, that's what Pulsar is using. Say over here, right, if you go to bookkeeper, use case is message storage, right? Offset and cursor storage is also Apache Pulsar using this. So as you can see, right, so that's the thing. Apache Pulsar does rely heavily on bookkeeper, which is unlike, right, what Kafka does. What Kafka is doing is that it manages its own set of log messages. So as you can see too, it adds to more of a baggage, so to speak, on the Kafka side. And as you also may know too, if you're familiar with it, you realize that Kafka just doesn't scale as easily because of its kind of inner dependencies with its own bookkeeping. Whereas Pulsar, what it does is that, well, I don't want to burden myself with all of the bookkeeping, so I let bookkeeper do it. Now, to me too, I think if I look into this scenario, without knowing all of the details, I would think that, even though it sounds like you separation of concern is always good, but also bear in mind too, then you have to manage that relationship, right, between the integration of bookkeeper and Pulsar. So there is certain amount of overhead you need to do, but the amount of overhead is not as great as you having to manage your own bookkeeper. I think if you think of it that way, you can think of yourself like, you know I own a big house, right? Let's say I have a mansion, right, of like 10 rooms, 12 or even 20 rooms and 10 bathrooms, and two big kitchens or something, an outdoor barbecue, whatever, a tennis court, all these things, right? So you have to have somebody to manage it, right? Do you want to do everything yourself? Probably not. I wouldn't want to. I mean, even in my own house now, I don't want to do all that stuff, although I have to do it. But because I'm lazy, I'm not doing everything that I should be. But that's another thing. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that the bigger you get, actually, it makes sense to delegate to somebody else to do kind of important things, but they're also very time consuming things. So this is what is happening. Bookkeeper is keeping all of the journaling ledgers. You have to keep track of who's coming in, who's coming out, and the fact that you keeping track of all these log messages, I'm sure you need to keep track of the time, of the category, of the topic, all of these things. It manages all of these things for you. Now, that's another thing too. Then in a cloud native situation, it becomes even more kind of necessary, right? Now you will need to manage them. If in a cloud native scenario, right, and that's the whole thing, is that the cloud itself, there's still kind of like being kind of organized, orchestrated, right? In terms of containers, you have many containers doing all the different things. They're being orchestrated, right? They still need to keep in sync with one another. Now, there's also times in which all of a sudden you need more processing capability because maybe you have certain components that are processors, right? There are certain components and microservices, for example. And then let's say in the order entry system, if it is near Christmas, near holidays, right, you need to order all this stuff, then everybody's ordering at the same time. You have more load on your microservices, for example. Then you need to spin off or kind of essentially, spin off more processors to handle that. So if you spin it off, and let's say, right, there's also concepts of pub/sub system. You have topics, right? Topics are what kind of keep track of the type of messages that are being produced by the producer. So you can actually do partition up topics, meaning a topic can be spread out. Kind of physically, they are the same, but they could be actually stored or run on different brokers too. That's what like partition is all about, right? They are on instances on being duplicated. So in that case, if you have more brokers coming up, more bookkeeper, all of these things, then you have to have the mechanism of keeping track of, well, who gets duplicated. Now we get another set of brokers and bookkeeper. We need to keep track of them, right? How do we even out the load? Leaders mechanism, right? Leaders algorithms, who is to kind of make the decision, that type of stuff. So all of these two, it kind of takes can take quite a bit of kind of processing need. There's this large processing need. But anyway, that's that. I just want to kind of get into that. So just want to introduce you to that. Okay, so that's that. Now kind of go back, right? So the streaming, back to Cassandra. So now, in an DataStax Cassandra, right? So what we want to try to focus on and kind of bring to your attention is this particular use case in Cassandra that we are leveraging Pulsar to do the job, relying on Pulsar's mechanism of the pub/sub mechanism to enable the change data capture pattern. Now, what does it do? Now, if you look into your database, right, let's kind of go into over here. Let's say last week, right, I think we created a table, if you remember, although I think over here we can't see it. Let me see if I can. Oh, no, it's only delete. Okay, so let's go over here. Console, right? So console will be a good way of kind of taking a look at your database, what is there. If you remember, last week we created a table, right? So, okay, let me kind of make it slightly bigger, right? And okay. So now I can just do a what was it? I always like forget exactly our MG Twitch. Is it like no? Actually, Twitch demo 1. I think. Oh, you know what? Let me kind of do this one thing. Let me go. I kind of forgot to what's my key space, my Twitch key space. So I do need to use that. Let me go back here. Oops. Streaming. No, actually, let me go over here. Go back to the CQL console. Okay, so if I switch out, then it lost my previous, but that's okay. I didn't have much on, so let's do a quick reference to all this stuff. So you can actually do a quick reference to doing a select, right? Let me kind of take a look. See, all of these are kind of just like SQL example, like show example, right? Create table not exists, and that's what we did last week. What did I actually create? I cannot remember. I should really try to remember that. And select. So the select, you can do this like select star from the cycling.events and then all these things. So it's much like the data kind of manipulation is much like what you do with SQL, regular relational database. So which makes it quite easy, right? So you can kind of do this. Okay, not the reference. I wanted to take a look too into my set of commands. Quick reference. Let me do quick. Okay, quick reference is this, but I want to actually. I think there's something called describe. Is that right? To select my set of tables. So, oh yeah, I have to use right. Okay. So you can actually switch to like. Let me see. Okay, so it's my MG Twitch. Key space, right? So that's the one I should be using. So let me go back. use mg key space. Oh. Okay, so I'm in that key space, and I think, okay, here we go. And then I should be able to say select. Actually, I wanted to find out what tables I have, right? That would be the first thing. So now I forgot exactly the one to use. And normally, right, if it's Oracle, right, you do something like select star from, well, actually, I forgot now. It's been so long ago. But there's some ways in which you basically are querying the system table that returns you a list of your user created tables, but I forgot. So let's go back to my quick reference. And let me see. Okay. Oops. Okay, everything is here actually. List rows. Is it list something? No, there's no such thing. So introduction, accessing data using SQL. System key space, that's fine. So you're welcome to read this, right? Going to the docs.datastacks.com, you can find all of these. And actually, right, if you're on the console, let me kind of go back a little, right? The console here, quick reference guide, you click on that, it will bring you to this page. So, or just want to make sure that you know, right, this guy, right, that I've highlighted, there's a link there if you want to follow up. So, okay. And then key space, and then tables, right? Creating a table, altering a table, all these things, search, creating, reloading. Okay, and all of these querying data. Describe is what I want. Describe table. Describe schema. Let's try this. I think it's a describe schema. Okay, yeah, describe schema. So that should then give me, oops, I click on the wrong thing. Okay, what is it? Okay, here we go. Okay, describe. You can do short describe schema. Okay, there we go. So now we see everything, but we can actually pop it up. That's true. Pop up to a separate table. Yeah, not table, but a browser window. I'm sorry. Okay, wait. Okay, well, it kind of shrink it up, I think, somehow. Okay, let's do it again. Describe schema. All right, cool. That's what I recreated last week, right? Okay, so that's another thing is that it will give you also the system level tables too. So as you can see over here, right? So you can see create key space. That was my first time I created it too. And then also, then there's a DataStax SLA. These are more like network, more the metadata kind of level. And then there's also the check, right? These are more system level. And then this is the thing, when I create key space, it also shows you that. Essentially, too, US Central 1 network topology strategy, durable rights is true. Now, this one, I think that's the table I created, right? It's create table mg twitch key space dot simple one. And then that's right. If you guys remember last week, Max was on my show. Although I wasn't quite understanding his suggestions of the use case, but I got it. The fact that he wanted to say we have a movie database, and then from there you query some data, and then you do some manipulation. We can then use the data to create a game show, right? So that's a great suggestion. Anyway, so I said, okay, why don't we go in and create this table just to get a feel, first of all, how do you actually create tables in Cassandra, right? On Astra DB, which is Cassandra underneath the hood. So over here, we said we'll use IMDb, if you remember, Internet Movie Database, right? Use an int is a primary key, and then also the title. So that's just very, very basic thing. And as you can see, if you do a describe of this schema, it gives you a lot of more information, kind of meta information about this table too. Things, for example, like compaction, compression, all of these things. If you are into all of these database, like storage, all of these, that might be interesting for you. Timeout, mem table flush, all of these things. Yeah. Read repairs, blocking, speculative retry, 99 percentile. Interesting. All right, then I actually Oh, I also did this too. Oh, maybe I did create it too. Maybe. So this is the next one. Oh, you know what? Last week I created it and then I didn't see any response. So I thought it didn't get created, but it did. But so now the second one is actually creating is called table tests. And my table test has the IMDb ID, IMDb rating, the released, which is the date of date format, and then the title. So same thing. Okay, cool. So, okay, that's great. And then the other things are like data endpoint off. Now, these are more the system level type of tables. So is this to data table off dot token. It's also, these are more, I like the fact that it also displays like system tables. I suppose you can also, maybe if you do a help describe, right? Oh, okay, so there's no, okay, maybe, okay, here we go. Well, okay, that's fine. So no big deal. I thought maybe it gives me a little bit more information, but let's kind of go back in here. Maybe this one is to describe schema. So you kind of take a look into this, right? Synopsis, describe, you can have a full schema. So we can actually take a look and see what the full schema does too. I'm sure then that will give you a lot more information, right? Yeah, it gives you more things like system views. So that's essentially giving you a full view into all of the metadata information too. And so if you don't give it, then it's user level information, although you do get a couple more like system level tables, but those are applied to your user table, kind of metadata information it looks like. But if you do a full schema, it will give you the virtual table, all of these that are, essentially a full set of all of the tables within this table, and within your database too. So yeah, so if you're interested, run a describe full schema will give you everything. So all right, so that's good. Now the thing is too, if you remember, right, we were doing this one MG Twitch key space simple one, right? Simple one. I did a simple one. Okay, so I created just this one, simple one, just the ID and the title. There's nothing in there. Let's then do the other one. I think how did I name it? I think I call it like, now I forgot. Okay, you know what I'll do? Let me kind of do this one thing. Describe schema, just the one over here. Table test. I guess I should do that. Okay. Let me do this one thing first. This is what we do first. So nothing in here. And then table test. Right. Table test is the other one that I created, adding a couple more fields to it. So, okay, so looks like, yeah, we get our table set up in here. Now, this is kind of like the basic mechanics. Now, if you want to kind of know how to do more of these, then refer to this reference guide. It will show you how, right? Or at least how do you interact, right? And there are like, for example, like the other thing, the reference section would have interesting thing about, data types, right? Introduction and then data types. So as you can see, all of the data types too will be of interest, because especially if you're doing more serious development, you will need to deal with the different data types. And there's text, which is UTF-8 encoded string, so it's varchar. Otherwise, it's ASCII. And is 8-bit sign. 64, and variant is arbitrary precision integer. And then there's also decimals, which are decimal, float. Float is 32, right? The IEEE, sorry, 754 floating point. And if you want 64-bit of that, you want to use double. And there's also date, that's what I was wondering. Date is what I'm using, is 32-bit unsigned integer representing the number of days since the epoch. 1970, January 1st, right? Okay, so date range type. You can actually do date range type is essentially giving a beginning, of the first day to the end day of the last, or kind of to the end date, right? It's all inclusive, I believe. Okay, and then there's duration. You can be like how many months, how many days, all of these things. Time and timestamp. And there's also UUID for unique identifiers. Time UUID too, that actually has a conflict-free timestamp. interesting. I wonder like what timestamp it is using, like time zones too. So that would be interesting to find out. And then specialized types are like blob, right? Blob, these are like big kind of binary big kind of globs of data. Is kind of interesting. Blob. I remember first time learning about it. There's also Boolean, true or false, and then counter too, right? And then also DSE execution state type. Now, just a note to notice too, if you come into here, then you will. Oh, actually, I realize I still have this up. I should actually get rid of it. So now there's also well, this is kind of small. Okay, not here. I'm kind of doing it in the wrong screen. Okay, let me kind of like do it over here. So there's also DSE. I just want to point out, you may notice some of the references to DSE, and DSE stands for Data Stacks Enterprise. So that's the Cassandra Enterprise Edition that comes out from Cassandra. So and it's on-prem, right? And now we're trying to tell folks, use our managed cloud version, which is Astra DB. So anyway, so you may come across DSE, and basically it's for that. And of course, too, there are also some, quite a lot of data science, machine learning types of applications that are kind of using, right, the enterprise edition as well. So, okay, and then we even have a type is IP address too, is either IPv4 or v6 format. Geospatial types have point type, line string type, and polygon type. Collection types that are frozen. That's interesting. Use frozen on a set, map, or list to serialize multiple components into a single value. So you basically, I see. So that's interesting. If you froze, right, do a frozen collection definition. So non-frozen types allow updates to individual fields, but values in a frozen collection are treated like blobs. That's what it is. Any upsert overwrites the entire value. And talking about which, right, in the database world, right, if you're interested, right, you've heard of this term kind of call, or kind of like, usually with data, right, we have insert, select, update, and delete. But there's also this thing called upsert. It's basically upsert means update and insert together. But what happened is that the operations behind the scenes, right, at least, right, it means update. If the data is already there, you do an update. If it isn't already there, you do an insert. So it's kind of like a multi-purpose type of kind of directive, so to speak, right? The command, right, so to speak. So it's upsert. But anyway, I just thought I'd bring this up because there's also over here frozen. That's something new for me, right? The collection types, you can have, frozen one. So you can use frozen to serialize multiple components into a single value. So non-frozen types allow updates to individual fields, but values, okay, so if it's frozen, meaning that the whole thing cannot be updated individually inside it, right? It has to be treated as the whole blob, kind of like that. And then there's list, map, so as you can see too, it's very much kind of mapped to the data types that Java has, right? And why is because Cassandra was written in Java, so yeah, so it's used a lot of the data types kind of like make sense to a lot of Java programmers too. So there's set, map, list, all of these tuples, a fixed length set of elements of different types. Okay, all of these things, I won't go into all the details. User-defined type, so that's kind of a flexible thing. You can actually define your own type too. And then there's deprecated types, which is custom type. Okay, so I just thought I'd kind of take a look too, with just pointing out, right? Data types usually would be very useful too when you develop code, right? To deal with it. Now, another thing is that you can do search, and we support like Solr too, the search engine Solr. But right now too, I think we're moving more towards Elasticsearch too. But otherwise too, Solr is also, we support that, right, in the DSE search. SQL operators too, you can do minus, plus, all of these things, return types, right, it's a table for that. Native functions. So yeah, so now I'm probably getting a little bit too much into the DSE type of thing, but if you're interested, please take a look. And there's examples as well. So you can like a search index example, I think might be an interesting, right? And these have tutorials and Docker container too. So, okay, so that's that. And so now what do we want to do? I want to talk about change data capture. I'm so sorry. So let's get back into this over here. So, okay, so if you kind of take a look right into your database, and then you also see that there's a heading called CDC. CDC is essentially you can enable it. So in order to use it, you need to first go to your database and enable CDC pattern in that particular database. So over here too, because the way the in the Astra database kind of within this subject area, we enable change data capture. Is essentially you can track any changes that occurs in any of your tables. And in order to do that too, when you enable it, you enable it on the database level, but then you do need to then select a tenant. Now then this is where we kind of connect to Pulsar. The tenant too is referring to what you call Pulsar, right? So we select a tenant, and we already created a tenant called Pulsar GCP, this one, and we call it MG Twitch tenant 1. So I'll select what I already have, and depending on how you create yours, you connect there, and then I'll use my Twitch key space, and then a table name. Okay, so what it will do is we'll watch for changes on this table and forward them to Astra streaming. So that's another thing. So on the Astra database side, there's essentially too the feature that enables Pulsar is called Astra streaming. So if you enable CDC, you do need to you need to select what table under what stream, what tenant, a key space, all of these, and then select the table. The table we want to use is basically a simple one. How about that? That's the one, right? Okay, so that's cool. We have this is initializing. Will take a bit of time. Okay, and while this is initializing, I think we should be able to also do a connect too. The connect will tell you it already kind of generates all of the tokens for you too, that type of stuff. So, okay. So you can also load data directly from here, which is kind of nice. So you can actually do a data set to it, right? And now the nice thing about this Astra DB, I think that's what I think is kind of nice, is that because we know, right, the developers here know that if you want to use our interface, try to do all these things, and because of all the small steps, it's actually we're providing you some example data sets so we can use them, right? So maybe let's how about this? We're dealing with some movie and TV shows, so let's do that. And then we can load data from DynamoDB. So export your DynamoDB. Oh, okay. Well, why is? Oh, okay. Sorry. Let's pick the movies and TV show. Okay. Just say next. So over here too, as you can see, preview, right? For example, you get like show ID, and then type is a movie and the title and the director, all of these kind of associated data. And so you see already get a couple of movies and TV shows in here. And select partition keys. Okay, so this one, let's say the show ID, we select that. Clustering columns. So which clustering column should we have, right? Should we do... Okay, so we can actually do clustering on... so basically, it's just group the ones that are together or partition them to accordingly. So why don't we do like a year or something, release year? That might make sense too. Release year, okay. And then load to target database. So let's do that. And now we want to load this to our Twitch demo database, and then the key space is that one that we know already work with. Now, in this case, then it won't be using our simple one, but it's being imported, right? And you get a notification in your email when done. So I actually need to go back too, because I'm doing load data, but I'm also enabling CDC. So in other words, I do need to go back and kind of pick a different table, which will be the table that this particular sample data set is creating. So we'll go back to that shortly. So. And let's see. So let's do this now. the simple is running, but you enable CDC, you can enable, yeah, so for each table, it does go by table. You can't say you enable the whole thing. The reason is that you need to basically tell Apache Pulsar which, to list which table you want to be watching, right, for any changes. So therefore you do need to go by table too. So in this case, let's pick the same one, and then now this one, and then a table name. Actually, you know what is interesting? Let's see too, if it loads the table, it's supposed to load into a different table. Let's see what's the table name is too. I just load it, right? Oh, you know what? Let's use that, the console that's out there. Where did it go? Oh, here we go. I want to go here. So let's see, describe a schema. Okay, so let's see what table it has loaded into. It should mg twitch key space, right? The simple one and the table test that I have. This is the one. So it created mg twitch key space dot movies and TV. So let's we'll have to pick this movies and TV. Okay. CDC. Let's go back. Okay. This one is okay. We don't actually need this now, but that's okay to enable it now. We need to enable the movies and TV. So is that an underscore, or it might be a little tricky too? So let me kind of double check. Movies underscore and TV. Okay, that's right. Okay, enable CDC. So this is how you enable it. So you can tell too, it's actually, if you use this user interface, is quite straightforward. But of course, this is just the basic, just to kind of show you that. But the thing is too, you can actually make it more kind of, well, not like you can, but it's a lot of times, right? And we know that in real life, in real production system, we always want to do something that's not as simple as in demos, right? So that's the thing too. But again, this is just for illustrating. As you can see, this is still initializing. So let's wait a minute or so. Yeah, and yeah, so I don't really see a lot of folks here today, which is okay, and it's not an issue. So and let's see, this is still, while this is initializing, let's go back to this over here. As you can see, right, we were taking a look at the default data like this. So this is pretty nice, that the set of data, right? It's just mostly just int for the show ID release year, and then cast. All of these are just text, right? As you know, that text are just kind of simple, like the like the other one is UTF, right? UTF. What is the other one? I kind of often forgot to. Let's go back to the reference here, data types. I thought there's varchar, right? Varchar too, but I bet they are just treated as text, so just like string, but they are UTF-8 encoded strings. So, okay, let's see if it's done. Okay, it's still initializing. Okay, no problem. So while this is going, okay, and then there are other things too we can kind of run and describe the key space, describe the table, right? So let's do a describe table. Okay. I bet it would say describe table. Movies. Okay, there we go. So this one only gives you return that one, which, if you don't specify that table, then all of the user tables get returned. So okay, that's that. And another thing is, let's see, this is still an initializing. So what I was thinking about is that we can actually take a look at that CSV file, right? How the format is. Then right, if you need to like create a sample data, so what to do, right? So let's kind of go back to the here. It's basically, I think there's a SQL reference. Is it like inserting and updating data? I bet this is where it is. Importing data from a CSV file. So this is it, right? So so all you do, comma separated file, or comma separated, what does it stands for? comma separated CSV. Comma separated, I can't remember, but anyway, it's CSV file, as we know. Actually, just so I don't, sometimes you say stuff so much and it's like, I just like forgot comma separated values. So okay, that's what I wanted to kind of make sure that I do not remember, do not forget, right? So all you need to do on that table is, first line is basically you do need to specify the table, to specify the column name in your first one, and the separator is by a pipe symbol, right? So and then likewise, then all of your database, or your what you call it, your data can then be kind of follow suit, and then they all be separated by the pipe symbol, right? For each field needs to be separated by that. So you can take a look into this. And then to insert the data into the CSV file, use the copy command. Oh, okay, so that's pretty cool. You can basically create a file first like this, and then basically then copy this guy in the CSV file. To insert the data in the CSV file, you can actually do the copy command. So if you want to do it not through the GUI, you can actually run it, essentially run that on your command line here, and then just copy it. So if you do a help copy, it would give you, so the copy, if you do a help on copy, it will also give you the example of how to do it. So you basically do need to say copy into that table, and then from, actually you can copy out, which means export, but you can like copy from, import CSV into Cassandra table. So copy X from the table name, and then essentially that's what it is, right? Like if you want to go back here, copy, and then from your name of your file with delimiter. Okay, so you actually can specify a delimiter to a different one. Now that's always a bit tricky, but what if your data itself contain a, in this case you use a pipe, or you want to use a quote or something. If you have those character in your data itself, then you might be in trouble. So in this case too, I think you may be able to use the backslash, right? Normally Linux, right, kind of style will be backslash, something to kind of override it, but it's good to kind of check them out too. But the thing is too, you can also check options too. So the options, I wonder if it tells you in here. You can actually set an environment variable too. I bet there's must be something like escape. Yeah, here we go. Escape. Oh, okay, here we go. Escape is single character that escapes literal uses of the quote character. Oh, so that's only like for the quote. Or delimiter. So delimiter, field separator, its default is comma. So if you don't use comma, you can use pipe. So, or then you have to tell it, right, in the command itself. So like over here, right? Oh, where did it go? Okay, here we go. Yeah, like with delimiter, tell it, and then header is true. Okay, so if you do it that way, you have to tell it that, okay, header, the first line is actually, you tell it what fields they are, and then essentially you load it like this, and Cassandra will handle it. Astra, right? Astra will take care of loading it, which is pretty nice, right? So you can kind of quickly create your table, quickly insert data that way. So yeah, so that's the kind of a nice thing. Okay, let's see. I think, this is still initializing. Why is it taking so long? All right, let me kind of like, sometimes if you exit, maybe it just doesn't get refreshed. Yeah, that's right. Okay, all right. So this is cool. And data topic, all of these things. Okay, so there's no topics right now. So basically then in this case, you can start to add a subscription to your topic, right? So over here, see what happens when we created enable CDC, it automatically creates a topic for you. So over here, see, if you go into here, as you can see over here, this is actually how you can get to the URL for your topic. But essentially too, in this case right now, okay, that's another thing. To do topics, right? If you remember, publish, subscribe. Publish is the one that produces the data, right? That emits the data. Let's put it that way. So it emits the data, but you want to tell it too, where is it going to, which topic, right? Topic is what labels this particular messages for, right? And then where to put it. So the topic itself is a persistent. You can have either persistent or partition, right? So partition essentially is telling it the topics can live in multiple brokers or partition it off and all that stuff too. But persistent too, it means that you want to persist it, right? You want to save it. It is after you send it, you want to save this particular message too. So this is a persistent topic. And then I have also my tenant name. And then the namespace too. It's interesting, right? This is a system generated namespace. So for each tenant too, it's actually will create a, well, actually I should turn it like that. Each tenant has its own namespace for keeping track of all of the topics. So these are like system generated by Astra database, right? Astra, the Cassandra database. And then all of these, then over here is the data, and then the how you can get to it. So or kind of like the name of this topic, as you can see, is actually quite long. Some kind of like UUID generated UUID, with the key space and then table name. And then this is the tenant. Oh, I should say then over here, partition. So even if you are persistent, actually by default is kind of saved into like 3 partitions. So okay, that's pretty cool. So that's been created. So now, how do we do it? We can do it. Let's do a connect, right? Are you using the Pulsar client? If so, download your client conf here. So you can actually download a client configuration, and then let's take a look and see what this configuration is, right? So actually choose application. I can actually choose, let me see if it would open. Sometimes I want to do it in my Emacs, but I don't know if it does it. Okay, does it bring up? Because Emacs is sometimes a bit of a tricky thing. So, okay, well, if it doesn't come out, guess what we could do? Oh, here we go. It's actually over here. Okay, you can see I kind of have it load up in my Emacs, and I can also make it a little bigger. Okay, so as you can see too, right, this is the client configuration, which is really nice, right? If you think about it, all of these, is automatically generating them for you. This is my web service URL, pointing to the streaming service. The broker, this is how you can get to the broker. This is the particular, the URL for your broker. Auth plugin, right? All of these. And the auth params, essentially the key kind of like authorization parameters, the token, I should say. And then TLS time, actually TLS is the protocol, right? The SSL, TLS enhanced SSL, allow in secure, false, and then that's why by default too is secure connection, and then TLS enable hostname verification is true. So it's just a couple things, and then the rest are like use key store, TLS is false, and trust store, type is JKS Java key store. And then all these things. So, okay, cool. So that's our client conf. Okay, so that's cool. We have that. And then, so you can then connect to your tenant in a few ways, right? The tenant details is here. And now, okay, want to connect, and I got that. And now, so how do I actually connect, right? So, okay, now if you go to your connect, right? It will show you to the producer. This is a producer client, right? By default, this is what it is doing. So you can essentially copy this in. Why don't we then copy this in and then give it a try, right? Okay, I guess this is a little bit, let me kind of shrink it back, okay? And okay, so let's just copy. In this case, let me go back to my editor. What is that thing? Oh, that's fine. Okay, all right. Let me kind of like do a Twitch, right? There's a client, my client conf. Where did it go? I think the client conf can't go to my download folder. Sorry, guys, it's a little small, right? That thing. Let me just. Can you see? Yeah, it is kind of like small. I'm trying to kind of figure this out. So. Yeah, client conf. Okay, that's what we get generated, right? Okay, and then why do I do this? Let me move all of these things into a directory where I'll be working it off of. So let me bring in my, oops, sorry. Let me go in here. Just bring in my my shell. Okay. All right, that's something else. I'm also trying out Akka serverless, by the way. Okay. All right, let me kind of go into here. Let me work Twitch is where I put my things. So let's kind of do this one thing. Today is, I like to label my thing with the date. And this one is CDC, right? Okay. Okay, this is where I will be doing all of the work for today. And okay, let me then move the file that I was looking at, downloads, client conf, move it over here. This is where my everything's reside. Now, the next thing to do is I just copy over the default producer, simple producer in here. As you can see, all it's is doing a, connect to the, the broker. So everything is in main just for illustration purpose, right? You're doing a Pulsar client builder, and then you connect to it, and authentication is basically using our Pulsar token. So this can be read from our client conf, right? Okay. And okay, so let me copy that in first, and which I already done, I think, copy. Then let me go back to my, okay, go back to here. Okay, this one is okay. And let me go back to my, it's my work directory. I like to always put things under my work. And then this one is Twitch. And then this is by the date. Okay, client conf. And let's put it like that, right? This is simple producer. Okay, now I just need to do this. Okay, cool. I wasn't sure if it could let me. Essentially, there's something changed. I didn't used to be able to, for Emacs, it couldn't read my Mac keystroke, but now it can. I didn't even think of it, but it actually can. So that's good news. All right, let's take a look now. So this is, okay, you know what? Let me kind of do it like this so that it's easier. So I think, let me kind of make sure it looks okay on the screen, right? It's not like too small or anything. As you can see, now we're looking into that particular producer, right? Let's look at it again, right? That's my connection to the broker. And all I need to do is basically my client first needs to connect to the broker first, right? And that build will generate it. And then basically then we do a client.new producer, and that will then create the producer, and also has a topic to it. And that's the one, right? Twitch tenant 1 and default Twitch output. Really? That's interesting, because let me kind of take a look. Let's take a look again. Okay. You know what I'll do? Let me do this one thing. I like to move this over here. Let me kind of move this over there. I wanted to put these things side by side. So, okay, cool. Now, oops. Okay, here we go. Sorry. Here we go. Let's go back. Okay, here we go. So this is what it looks like. Let me see if I could. Actually, you know what would be good is if I could actually get rid of the column. I wonder if I could. Let's see. I guess maybe not. Oh. Okay, well, that's fine. Let's go back there. Twitch demo. We were on, is this CDC? Okay, CDC, we have it here. Connect, that's right. And then connect, we want to use connect using a driver, Java one, so, right. Oh, it's actually, you know what? CDC. I think CDC, is it over here? Or maybe, did we actually go to the tenant? Yeah, there we go. There we go. It's actually the Pulsar client. Yeah, so I have to go to the Pulsar side. But what I try to do, I think, you know what would be nice is that this thing can be shrink. I wonder if I could. The left side, right? We don't need it so big. I don't want to click on that because then will kind of disrupt my kind of setup in here. Okay, no problem. We can still see, but it's just a little bit tighter, right, in here. Okay, that's okay too. But you can see the code behind me. So okay, so we will kind of play around with this in here. So producer, right? Okay, no problem. We don't need that now. We already copy into this here. But let's topic. Here we go. The topic is data dash 95. Right? So all these are the different topics. Interesting. So okay, so at least I can see them here. But over here too, what we wanted to take a look at is the producer, right? Let me kind of swap it over here a little more. Okay, so the topic is actually labeled as persistent. Now the color doesn't come out right. Let me do this one thing. Let me use a different color. Themes. Options. Customize. Custom themes. Okay, let me use a different themes that might be better. I think there's actually one that's pretty cool. I thought, right? It looks okay. All right, cool. All right, let's use this one. Maybe it looks better, right? Okay, yeah. It just makes it easier. Otherwise, everything's same color, right? So, all right. So persistent. I'm just looking at this, right? Persistent. This is the guy. This is the topic that we're connecting to. And then basically, too, once you create it, you can send a message over there. Now, in this case, it's just one off, right? We just send one. But we can modify this to have the producer be like looping and maybe time it, whatever, and have it produce messages as we go along, right? But right now, let's kind of go back here. Sorry, have to kind of shift it. But this is better, too. So I was just kind of looking at this, right? So the topic... okay, that's fine. I think it's just too bad, this thing doesn't, this interface doesn't get to, okay, this one I think is just documentation. Okay, not that. Okay, I was hoping that that's fine. So, okay, all right, so, okay. But that's okay. I just wanted to take a look at topics. There we go. Okay. As you can see, right? Topics, like why are there 4, right? We actually only enable CDC 2 times, right? So each one created 2 topics. Why is it? Because actually then you have the proper topic, plus there's also a topic for internal, for logging. So let's take a look, right? 6 subscriptions in here. So let's take a look. So these are where it fetches the name from. That's what we're working off of, right? And this guy. But it's interesting too. The topic is this, but the full name when you reference it is that. It's the second column. So, okay, so these are persistent, and they each actually by default have 3 partitions. So, default namespace and 1 topic, and 0 subscription right now. That's interesting. The namespace is default. Okay, I see what it means. Okay. Why is it kind of on that side is because we enable CDC. We enable CDC, and then CDC, we enable it on the Astra DB side, right? So then, we were fooling around creating, well, actually, when you create a stream, right, a tenant, then it also, then it comes with the default namespace, but then which means you can actually use this and create your own other applications and create your other namespace, other topics for doing other things. But the thing is, if you're using CDC, think of it as kind of a special use case of CDC, change data capture, right? That's utilizing Pulsar on Astra. So, okay. So this is what it is. So that's what I want to find out. But let's kind of click on it just to see what's in there, right? As such, right? We see there are 4 topics. Because we enable one topic on movies and TV, then it may enable another one on the simple one, table. So that's why we already have 2 for the data. Then there's log. So log is a separate topics, and that's why. So Okay, so let's take a look. If we click on that, what can we see? So if you click on that topics, on the console here, it's basically giving you all the statistics. So far we have not published anything yet. Messages are 3.8K. Data in, right? That's what it is, and then data out, nothing yet, and then details. Storage is only 1.76 megabytes, so very small. These are for just for kicks, kind of playing around with it. So okay, that's cool. And then namespace. Okay, so these are the namespace we were just looking at. Functions. Now, that's another thing. If you're interested in doing more transformative kind of thing, you want to operate on the messages, you can actually write your own functions, right? These are Pulsar functions. I think I brought this up in a few episodes before, but I don't know if folks you have time to kind of dig deeper into that. But yeah, if you're interested too, we should maybe, in fact, next time, maybe really go back to revisiting, really get much more like in-depth touch into the functions and see how do you write a Pulsar functions, right? So think of Pulsar functions sort of like concepts of like AWS Kinesis or other type of serverless kind of functionality, right? I think AWS has one, maybe Azure also has one, Google also has their serverless kind of thing. But this is same kind of idea. You can use functions. Through functions, you can actually manipulate, transform the data, the messages that you get. So okay, so we would do that next time. And then also too, with these change data capture, we have what we call sync. So as you can see, that's the key, right? Using this Pulsar, using PubSub kind of way of doing things, you can actually create what is called like data pipelines. So essentially, any kind of pipeline, right? You think of it like a long kind of pipe, has an input and then an output is a source and then a sink, right? This is why the sink is. So basically, too, you can basically have a source that's coming from in this case, right? You can kind of set it up so from any kind of changes, you set it up to kind of listen on any changes on the database, on that particular table, on the particular columns, right? Any kind of data change, it will kind of kick off some kind of action. That's how we define it in here. And it's Pulsar that takes care of it. So it subscribes to it. And then from there, then you can create what is called a sink, is where you'll receive the output, right? And that will be the sink. And so that's the idea. So over here, if you want to create a sink, right, you can actually, let's say we want to create, then how about in this case, right, from the table, we want things to deposit into a different sink type. So you can have like an Astra DB, another Astra, well, in our Astra DB, or data generator, or Elasticsearch, right? As you know, I mentioned about doing search, you can do Elastic, right? It's pretty nice. Or JDBC ClickHouse, JDBC MariaDB, JDBC PostgreSQL, JDBC SQLite, Kafka, Kinesis, or Snowflake too. But that's how about if you just go back to an Astra DB? It's just back to our own database, right? And then a good name for later reference. Let's say a good name. Let's say the first sync, right? Let's say first sync. And then there's advanced setting, one instance, and processing guideline. Now that's the thing, right? With messaging, we want to guarantee at least once, right? It's basically you guarantee that it has been delivered, has been acknowledged at least once, right? The delivery. But you can do at most once, or kind of doing effectively once. So effective meaning that only one and only one, essentially. So the different quality of service level. Subscription position is the latest, right? That will be fine. Timeout, maybe 5,000 milliseconds is like 5 seconds. Auto acknowledge, right? Whether it's not, it should be acknowledged. Do you want to validate your connection? And then force create, it skips config validation and connection before it is created. And then optional Pulsar sync configurations for the list. So these are like just different sync configurations that you can do too. And connect topic. Pick which topic you would like to add as the input topic for this sync. So, okay, so that's very interesting. That means you can keep creating your data pipeline too. Then you can, let's call it Twitch output. So messages published to the selected topic will be forwarded to the connected sync. So that's what it is. And then connector traffic must remain in this tenant's region, right? And okay, in this region, okay, that's fine. Everything is in the same region. We can come back to our Twitch demo. Going back to the MG Twitch key space and then table name. Let's say simple one. I don't know if it will work, but let's see, right? access or create your application token here, right? You can then go over here. I bet I should be able to use this, I think. Okay. Update the mapping to match your topic schema. Each field must be prefixed with either key or value or use the now function. So, okay, so now that's the tricky part, right? Part equals value dot name, ID equals value ID, num equals value number of these things, added equals now. Oh, so I do need to write the mapping. So this is going to be interesting. Okay, so for now, let's not write anything, but I bet it will come kind of complain and show the topic. There's nothing on the schema attached to the intermediate Twitch output topic. Simple one, invalid application token. Interesting, there's no schema. Okay, that's fine. And then optional sync specific configuration is optional. I'm not going to worry about it now. Review and submit. Okay. I bet it might say there's a validation error. That's what I thought, because we never have any kind of proper setup in here. But you know what? Let's keep it like a little bit shorter now. My stream has been going for almost, is it like 2 hours, 1 hour and 45 minutes? So I'm going to have to stop now because I do have a meeting coming up in just like 10 minutes or so. So, but let's kind of like finish it off to here. So far for today, right? What we have done was we created that table, starting doing CDC enablement. And then over here too, we did like a simple producer in which all we're doing is that have that producer write to the topic or set it up in the topic and then send a hello world to kind of a simple message to it too. And then we close it and everything. Now, in reality too, if we write this, we actually, the producer would probably, if we're kind of enabling a CDC, right? It's kind of listening for changes in the table, right? So we want to be able to actually grab the new change of this data and then maybe send it back, right? And then do some sort of like transformation of this data and then send it back to the, to send it on essentially over. That's what we're trying to do, send it on and write it to another sync, for example. But of course too, then what we're missing too is that we haven't done the consumer part. So we can also take a really quick look, and next time we'll work on it is over here, Java code example. You can do a producer, and that's what we did just now. We can also do a consumer. So the consumer, oops, not here. Okay, here. So the consumer over here too, as you can see, it's another client. So you do a client, Pulsar client builder, and then authenticate it and set it up. And then basically then consumer, you set up .new consumer. And basically you want to consume any kind of messages that are coming to this topic. And the topic in this case would be MG Twitch tenant 1. So that's the receiving topic, right? That's what we're trying to do just now is my MG Twitch tenant 1. Oh no, wait a minute, it's my fault. It should be actually the same tenant that we're working with on the same topic, and Astra CDC and the data, that movies and, okay, we know which one, movies and TV, that one. So, well, for some reason though, I didn't we, is it this one? Okay, my Twitch and default. Why are we doing default and Twitch output? Oh, okay, it's because the producer will actually be slightly different. So the topic, when we enable CDC, we created a topic. That particular topic, it will actually be the receiving side, for the receiving side. And so when you produce any changes to that, you actually do need to give a different topic to it too. That's interesting. Why is it so? I thought we were supposed to be, rewriting the produce to this topic, and so now it should be the consumer is going to also from this topic, we're subscribing to this topic. So okay, oh, I see. So maybe this is I think I know why, because we do need to subscribe to the topic. That's actually the internal name, I think, rather than using the persistent. But let's take a look. So this is the Astra CDC one. And so let's kind of take a look too. Because even I'm kind of like wondering, like, why would it be? If you go back to topic, let's just, okay. I think this is the one, right? This is the one that we're trying to, uh, this is the one, yeah, when we consume, we're consuming from here. I was assuming we need to be writing to this too, but why is it not doing so? Or at least maybe the example is just something random rather than, okay. Oh, so now this time it's okay because then when I copy it didn't show. Isn't it? Yeah, for some reason I copy it, it actually doesn't. Okay. All right, then that makes sense. That's what I was wondering. Like, why is it so, right? All right, so it looks like too I do need to shrink this back so then I can copy the whole thing. So then I make sure my, oops, no, connect. We go back. Sorry, producer. So I just need to do this. I need to copy this, which is actually, yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, why would it be? So just make sure where you're writing to, right? Where you're producing to, and okay, oops. Actually, you know what? Let me do this. So as you can see, I copy in the correct one now. So now I actually going to produce in the same one. So yeah, all right, okay, so that's good. Now we won't have time now today to actually build and see this working, but that's our project for next week, is to continue from this part, the CDC, we get the producer, and then now we also have the consumer. Actually, you know what? Let's do the consumer real fast too. Over here is simple. Oh, actually, let's go back to here is consumer, simple consumer. Let's do a copy of this guy, and then it's just a matter of okay, no, okay, sorry, this way. Okay, let me do this one thing. I would just create another file over in the same directory called simple consumer. I'm sorry, it's a little bit small, but over here, that's what I just did, right? Yeah, this is the consumer. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Okay, so this is just the consumer that I just copy in. So the top one, my top window, split window is the producer, and this one is the consumer. So, all right, so we can claim victory, meaning that we have already done the producer and the consumer. The next time we'll go and actually also finish configuring the sync and everything, and then we can try to see this in action. So, all right, so with 3 minutes to go for my next meeting, I do need to end my this particular broadcast today. If you're watching this, on demand, thank you very much too. I'm not sure how many of you are actually online live today, and I understand too. I'm kind of starting off this little slow today, so I apologize for that. And with that, I wish you all a very good evening if you're in North America or Asia, in morning when you're getting up, or Europe, you're already maybe deep in your sleep. So, all right, then, thank you so much, folks, and I appreciate you being here. And please, everybody, take care. Bye bye.